Lunatic Fantasy is a Yuri adventure game for the Sharp X68000, a Japanese personal computer known for its, at the time, powerful hardware specs. To release a lesbian romance fantasy adventure on the same hardware as Night Arm, the hybrid framer, they must have needed some hefty power to tell this story. Of course, not really. Lunatic Fantasy isn't anything too impressive. The choice of hardware is honestly a really peculiar one for this little game, and I do mean little. The work of Dojin Circle Studio Light Cross, Lunatic Fantasy comprises their one and only release. An impressively small team with no credits shared with any other games, at least if VNDB is to be VND believed. They've even got the hero, Hiroaki Shimeno! Unusually for a Yuri computer adventure game of this era, it actually received a full English translation many years ago, courtesy of old hands Eien Nihen and Stardust Crusaders. It's how I first experienced the game, in fact. To my memory, it's quite good, accurate to the source text while reading pretty naturally. If you want to check out Lunatic Fantasy yourself and you don't know Japanese, this is the way to do it. I might recommend it even if you do know Japanese, because the text in this game tends to run on a bit much and there's no saving, so you've got to get through it all in one sitting. It gets kinda exhausting. As for the game itself, though, it's an odd duck, but it's charming. As it opens, we're introduced to our amnesic purple-haired hero who remembers only her name. Fab. Fab. I gotta admit, if we're talking lesbian fantasy leads, Fab is surely one of the names of all time. And make no mistake, if Fab has two defining characteristics, they're that she is devoutly religious and devotedly homosexual. After waking up in the forest and being guided into a nearby town with the help of the local dryads, she's mistaken by a blind little girl for her mother, and through this meets her older sister, coming to stay with them for the next while. As she spends time enraptured by the older sister's beauty, she learns that the younger sister's blindness was caused by the same incident with the light spirits that took their mother's life, and she ultimately decides to go into the forest to, do something? I'm not gonna lie, the story beyond this point is sort of dreamlike and hazy. I won't spoil any of what happens in it. Beyond that, Fab ends up fighting and kissing a lot of women. Oh right, fighting. If there's something to be said about the design of Lunatic Fantasy, it's that it really does its best to make itself seem like it's a bit more than a standard visual novel, and most of its efforts fail. The combat has an idea. You click somewhere on the enemy's portrait to attack, and somewhere on your own to defend. It's luck, it's all luck. Not that you've got high odds of losing anyway. Wait, does that make this the second Yuri VN I've talked about with an unnecessary and seemingly arbitrary combat system? You do get access to magic on the second and third fights, but they don't change it up a ton. Fab win. The novel segments make their own effort to hide the game's basic linearity, having you click these 4 buttons to perform 4 different actions. It doesn't end up contributing much. You just kind of hit each button until one shows new text, and then start searching through all the buttons again to see what the next one they want you to hit is. Very peculiar choice. I guess this is spoilers as much as you can spoil the ending of a 50-minute long game with a kind of incoherent cliffhanger ending. But the ending's probably the most iconic part of this game. As quick as Fab came into town, she leaves the game not really having reaffirmed if she accomplished literally anything beyond making out with some dryads and spirits, and I guess getting a good look at that older sister's bare shoulder. To be continued in Lunatic Fantasy 2! A sequel that has not ever been made. I'm sure it'll pop up on itch.io or Freem any day now. Perhaps even Booth. Lunatic Fantasy is a bit hard to quantify overall. Is it good? It's Lunatic Fantasy. The best thing I can say about this game is that it certainly exists as an iconic piece of Dojin Soft Yuri history. I don't know if it's quite the first, but it's one of the earliest, and in some sense is hard not to see as a precursor to the kinds of similarly odd and tiny stuff you see uploaded on Japanese freeware sites today. I guess I find some amount of inspiration in it myself, so maybe that's good enough reason for fantasy this loony to exist.